I'm going to go to Pete Moser, who is going to be on location at Morecambe Bay. I'll put some.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. Yes, very nice. I've been watching all day and listening, and it's been quite fascinating and beautiful. And so here we are with the Tide and Time Bell in Morecambe Bay. It's one of a number of bells all the way around the country. And I think she's putting up the link in the chat so you can have a look at them. And every high tide.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay?
could you turn your sideways on our screens at the moment?
Oh, I was told that was the right way to do it yesterday. He said, do you want me to do it the other way yesterday when I did the test?
It's just that the image hasn't flipped, so you're standing on your sideways.
On my head.
Yeah.
So do you want me to turn it then? Okay, that might take a minute. So okay, yesterday was the other way. So just say. So is that better?
That's fine. That's good.
That's better. That's Ben in the background. Yes, let's just.
Hi, Ben.
They say hello, Ben. So is that better? Is that better picture?
Yeah.
Cool. So it's one of a number of Tide and Time bells around the country, and they ring on the high tides. It's been an amazing project by Marcus, and we come and play our bell on the high tide. So this is perfect timing. So we're going to play until 27 past, and I'll sing you some songs tonight as well from Morecambe Bay. Yeah. That sound okay?
Actually, we do have a problem, Pete, because the sound is so loud that it just completely goes away.
Okay, I'm going to take it off. I'm going to take it off my iPods.
Yeah. Okay.
And just do it on the phone now.
That's probably better.
Oh, you can still hear it ringing. Can you hear it ringing?
Yeah, we can now, but we couldn't really hear you when you struck it.
Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes, we can.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hello. Can you hear me? I can hear you. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that. No, it's our bell.
I thought it made that.
It's our bell.
It's your bell.
Is that okay, Graham? Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that wherever you are in the country.
Fantastic, Pete. Thank you.
We've got a little crowd here if you want to see. Look, this is our crowd who come out to see. But there they are. Whoop. Look, here we are. Beautiful Morecambe.
Pete,
And we've even got canoes come to see us.
could you tell us a bit
There
more
you go.
about, can you tell us a
I
bit
think
more
that's
about,
us. That's the end of our time, I think.
Pete, can you
Can't
tell
hear
us,
you, but I'm sure. I
oh,
hope you enjoyed that.
Tell you a bit, do you want
Pete,
saying something?
Okay, I'll put my pods back in just now. Oh, for some reason I can't hear you.
You're doing very well.
Pete, can you hear me now?
What do you want to hear?
I can hear you. Relay your message.
Lovely. Are we just, can you tell us a little bit about Morecambe Bay and how special it is and why it's so special? Thank you.
Okay, so Morecambe Bay is the largest tidal bay in the UK. Just a sec. Just lose you or not?
Yeah.
Yes, it was there. Sorry, somebody tried to call me. Morecambe Bay is the largest tidal bay in the UK. We have 2 very strong tides every day. It's a high tide today, it's just over 10 meters. And there've been numerous tragedies in the bay over the years as people have got caught by the quicksand. Sorry.
Oh dear. There he is.
We've lost everyone now.
You're on mute, Pete.
I'm now not on mute.
There we
Right. Okay, so Morecambe, but the amazing thing about Morecambe Bay are the birds, is the bird life. It's an extraordinary place for birds coming all the time, all the way through the year. You get the birds feeding on the shoreline and coming here. It's a really rich habitat for birds coming from all over the place. And at the top end, there's Leighton Moss Bird RSVB Reserve, which is a beautiful place to go to. But then there are the tragedies of Morecambe Bay, and as a musician, I've worked here for 25 years, or on and off, doing different things. And in 2004, you'll remember there was the Cockling tragedy when 23 Chinese migrant labourers lost their lives in the bay. And those stories kind of resonate in the bay, and the danger of the tide is something that we really think about. And later on, I'll sing you a couple of songs from a piece that we did about that. And also the Tide and Time Bell song. That's going to be, I think, 7:45. Have a lovely day.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I think in a few seconds now, we're going to leave Morecambe Bay and travel south back to Bristol, where we're joining Kathy once again with an expectation of the tide having gone down even further. So Kathy, you're there, are you?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm at the Cumberland Basin, so we've got a steady height here, but I'm joined by my friend Cale Brandon, and we're doing a bit of an experiment around a project called the Association of Unknown Shores with Cale Brandon, myself and Angela Puccini. So we're going to do a bit of an experiment with you, and I really massively enjoyed the Tide in Time bell, and strangely, we are going to do an experiment with some bells and the Cumberland Basin. We're going to resonate some bells inside the Cumberland Basin. And we've got 2 bells from different arts organisations in Bristol. We've got a bell from the Cube Cinema and a bell from Desperate Men. And we're going to listen to them above water and below water. So here we go.
Amazing, Kathy.
Okay, thank you. So that's some underwater bells from Bristol.
Wonderful. Following on from Morecambe Bay, that couldn't be more
serendipitous.
Amazing. So thank you. And I think we're going to be coming back to you, Kathy.
Yeah, at the low tide.
Very good. Very good. So thank you and goodbye. And we're now going to move to Rachel. So welcome, Rachel Elaine, who over to you.
Oh, hi. Hi, good to see you all. I've just been rushing to try and edit something that I made this morning on the high tide. So I'm going to be sharing that from my screen. So it's about, I've been swimming a lot in the water, and it felt like a really exciting opportunity to gather socially distance in a group of 6, which we could legally today, and go to a local beach and swim into the high tide. So I've just filmed and recorded. So I've recorded from under the water and above the water and in the water. And it's just about the experience of being and immersing into that huge, the biggest tide of the year. So I'm just going to share with you some footage. It's incredibly raw because it was literally made this morning and I didn't get home until 11. The high tide was approximately 8:15 where I was. So we were there to swim into the actual high tide itself. So I'm going to share this film. So it's an incredibly raw edit, but it's work in progress. So I will just share that with you. Okay, I've got this silly hat, so it has to be really nice. Can you hear that okay? Is that sharing? Great. Oh, they are, aren't they? And doctor, but they go. Amazing. I feel rejuvenated and energised. I'm totally astonished at the power of the water, of the sun, the moon and the earth to pull and draw back the waters of the world, bringing them to the shoreline.
It was absolutely exhilarating. I'm so pleased with myself that I got in. It's like the one special time of the year you can feel, and it sounds like a cliche, but it's absolutely true. I could totally feel connected with nature, and I just feel like I've got so much energy now. I'm going to go forward now with that energy and really make the most of the rest of the year. So thank you for inviting me. That was just superb. You know, a relief and exhilaration. Like, oh, like, yeah, it's almost like, oh, thank goodness. And then today was this high tide was really special. Stepping into the water was really, and then swimming out into the sun was amazing. And then swimming out into the sun, we had to stop. Yeah, it was really beautiful. I felt really beautiful. Folded back into
After getting into the full and open and welcoming, and sort of sliding into the crystal clear water.
well.
Okay, so that's my very raw, rough edit. I took quite a lot of footage, but yeah, that was what I made for this moment, but it will be evolved over time, because I have been filming my swimming experiences over the year, actually, since almost the beginning of lockdown, swimming in the river initially, in the River Dart, which is 5 minutes from my home, and yeah, recently swimming at the very nearby coastline. So it was just a shared experience, and we were incredibly fortunate, the weather this morning, leaving in the very thick mist, very atmospheric mist, and seeing the sunrise and moving towards the coast. And there was this kind of faint sort of light cloud and blue sky, and the water was shiny and incredibly clear. And just before we left, a seal popped up to say hello. So we had a magical morning. So I'm just recounting a little bit of the experience. So that's what I have to share with you. And I look forward to hearing more of the conversations and experiences of other people from all over the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rachel. I would be very happy to watch every single one of your films to follow through your swimming experiences. And as a city dweller, we haven't been able to swim in our local Lido, the Tooting-Bec Lido, until yesterday. So we connected with the water.
Well, did you go back in? Were you able to?
Go back in. I was first in the queue. No, and we have been swimming in the River Thames in the meantime. But just reflecting on your film, and we have got a few minutes, so if anybody has something that they want to comment or observe, put it in the chat, or we've just got a few minutes before we welcome Gerd Dunlop. But it occurred to me that many years ago I put together a series of films called Dive-In Movies, which were actually screened at our local Lido, and we were looking for something around the turn of the century to mark the centenary. And it struck me then that a lot of early filmmakers, at the turn of the last century, used water, and they used swimming as a way to play with light and the movement of the water. Water became an extraordinarily central part of that. And Jean Vigo's film Taris is the most exquisite example of that. But it seems just...
The film that you mentioned?
Taris. I mean, he essentially films a swimmer in water for over 40 minutes. But just your piece, and then preceding that, Kathy's and Pete's, and so much of what we've seen has also been a play of sound, and how creatively, when we're responding and making, just exploring water and the oceans, how incredibly key sound is to that play. So I don't know whether that's something that's sort of really come into some of your filming, is just sort of noticing when you're looking back at your film, the sound of the water, the way the water.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm using hydrophone as well, so I'm getting the underwater sound, so I'm getting that different kind of acoustic quality and frequency, so the infrared and the ultrasounds, as well as the kind of sounds that we hear. But when you talked about the light, it's incredibly important, and I was really, we were really fortunate this morning that the sun was out, and so you do get this incredible kind of magical kind of reflective quality, and then you get the refraction as it kind of goes under the water. Yeah, it's a very acoustic little bay, that actually, as well. It really kind of carries sound very kind of effectively. So there were dogs on the beach kind of later on, and they kind of drowned a lot of the other sounds out. So I tried to avoid the sort of the dog barking or the dogs barking. I can see there are some questions, but I don't know if there's time.
And who else? Maybe somebody that hasn't had a chance.
And Richard's got his hand raised as well.
Richard.
Yeah, okay. If there's no one else in the queue, I just wanted to make a comment really about the social aspect of sea swimming and probably other forms of non-chlorinated swimming. That sound seems to play an awful lot of that, the sort of screaming and rather joyous sounds that come from the shock of the cold water, and just the really the entire, what appears to be an entirely different social experience than, say, swimming in a group in a municipal swimming pool. Just a comment, really.
Yeah, I wanted to just say, if there's no one else, that I recently interviewed someone in Exmouth about the sea and swimming, and we were talking about the sound of when you're in the womb, what it must sound like, that you're born into this watery landscape before you come out and breathe air, and that there might be some resonances there about
Definitely. That. Yeah, no, I'm completely into the idea that we are all bodies of water, and the world is full of these bodies of water. Astrida Nimanis discusses that in a really fascinating, in-depth sort of study in her book with that title. So yeah, I think we all connect to that. Yeah, that sort of those early memories in fetus, and yeah, as we develop, and we are so much water. We're 70% water, and the earth is 70% water roughly. So there's lots of connections.
Okay, very good.
Thank you very much. I see there's lots of things in the chat, but I'm conscious of, are you needing to move on?
You just mentioned a book, but I didn't catch the name.
Yes, Astrida Nimanis's Bodies of Water, it's called, and she's a post-human feminist phenomenologist. She's just recently moved from Sydney University to British Columbia in Canada. And she's an extraordinary thinker. She doesn't really write about swimming, but she writes about, our connection, our human and non-human connection to water. And it's a really fascinating read. And it's all available to download as PDF for free as well.
Wonderful. Well, the swimming has been literally sort of
No, I missed all the other swimming because I was too busy swimming myself, and then trying to edit, very, very fast edit with lots of crashes. So it's great that I made it, and I look forward to hearing.
Well done, well done.
Thank you very much.
That's no mean feat to actually go out and come back and do that editing in time. So thank you very much indeed, Rachel.
And thank you for having me. Thank you.
And so we've just got a couple of minutes, and we ready to welcome Gare. You are here, aren't you, with us now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Just you can run the film from your end, is that right?
Yeah, we should be able to.
Oh, fantastic.
If we've got it.
Okay.
I think
we're sort of running ahead of ourselves at the moment, so that's great. So thank you.
Okay. I'm not in a rush. So
How
yes,
was your? Oh, yeah. I think it's coming now.
well, I'll just introduce the film. You know, shall I wait a minute or shall I just start now?
I think if we're ready on backup, have we got the film ready?
Here comes, I think.
think I'm a tiny bit wet.
Okay.
Back
Well,
introduce the film. You were going to say something beforehand, so tell us more. And we've now got some fantastic questions coming up in the chat as well. So there's time to do both.
okay, well, what I would just simply say is that if you look at your Arden survey map, you will see something called Sampson's Pebble, and you can look it up geologically, and it will tell you it's a glacial erratic from somewhere in the central Scotland biggest glacier. But of course, everyone really knows that it's actually the Devil's Stone. Satan got very angry about some churches being built on the north side of the river, threw one stone which fell short in Invergowrie Bay, threw another which became Dundee Law, the great hill opposite, and in disgust at missing both times, dropped the pebble in the bay and returned back to his business among the citizens of Fife. So this extraordinary stone, you face downriver, you see, you know, an industrial town, Dundee. You face upriver, you see what you can still imagine is a complete romantic wilderness, but of course it isn't really. And essentially just personal notes. I wanted to think of the passing of time. I used various little elements from open source scientific films to kind of indicate, you know, how tides work, how time works. And they also, the passage of time for me is very poignant because the tiny baby from when the extreme weathers of 2009-10 is now my sound assistant to help me with the film there. So it's all kinds of different senses of time in one place, because this is the longest I've ever lived in one place in my entire life. And that still surprises me. But it's a very special bit of the coast. And previously I did a work with some geographers and artists from the Open University. We did a big research project called Soundings, which is about trying to understand coastal change. You know, and people usually see the same images of coastal change, and I think it's quite important to try and find new ways for people to have dialogue. So we were working together, getting people to record sound, to create sound, to listen to contemporary music in North Norfolk. And so I've always been really excited about what sound can do and how sound can be a social imaginary that brings us together in a way that sometimes the visual does not. And I'm very excited about the combination of the two and how one might work like that.
Thanks, Ger. Can I ask you about your experience of getting up this morning? Did you get up to see the high tide?
I did get up, but the high tide was pitch black and it was extremely grey and flat. So I would have kind of done a last minute kind of amendation to this, but really what I had was actually the best it was going to get. So yeah, so none of it is today, it's yesterday and about a week ago. That's part of this. Yeah, it is a glacial erratic, some people think. Yeah, the devil's everywhere in British geography, of course, but there are so many Sampson's pebbles around the country, and I think they're just, all the devil stones were just systematically renamed as that. Yeah. Oh yeah, and yeah, Marlena, I did enjoy your show at the Collins Gallery. Sadly, the Collins Gallery is no more, but it made a really big, seeing your show in whatever many years ago that was, it made a huge difference to the way I was thinking, and I began to think much more about what's outside the picture and the photograph as well as what's within it. So I still work with photography, but mainly with video and sound these days. So yeah. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, what else can we say? Who else is asking? Any other questions?
Joe appreciated the graphics. And college town in the background, Joe.
Yeah, well, there's quite a lot of fun you can have, you know, digging up open source. You know, sometimes they're the most banal films of how the weather works, and sometimes even within these very banal films, you can find the most extraordinary little pieces of graphic and little pieces of information. And I was quite inspired. There was a famous film. It was possibly one of the first music videos ever made by an artist called Bruce Connor, who worked with David Byrne and Brian Eno on, to do some stuff for their album My Life in the Bush of Ghosts. And there's an extraordinary video piece called Mea Culpa, which is made up of tiny fragments of scientific films. And I haven't decimated and hacked it to pieces and made it and pulverized it in quite the same way, but so little quotations, the idea that time passes, effects and forces exist in the world come through very powerfully from some of the graphics of these old films. And again, different kinds of forces and time, kind of suggested through juxtaposing things in that way. And I really quite enjoy that these days. I never used to be a technical effects person, but it seems to be creeping up on me in my later life.
And do you feel like this stone will be something you want to focus on in further work, or are you in relationship with the stone, or are you feeling that you've kind of done?
Well, it's not going anywhere, and I'm here for a while, so let's see what happens. This will probably work itself into a larger piece of film. But I'm filming inside an old nuclear bunker nearby, which it's not the pleasantest experience. It's kind of knee deep in shit, frankly. It's slowly filled, but it's the most extraordinary way, look up to the sky that you see from down the shaft of this thing. And I keep looking up at the tiny squares of sky that you see it from the bottom of the shaft there, and it's so lyrical. I want to join these different senses of place together. So maybe this is part of a bigger sense of what Balmerino is.
And time.
Yeah, could well be. I mean, it's something that's coming through at the moment.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, well, thanks very much.
Very nice comments.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, well done. Thank you.